Have you ever had your feelings hurt when you spoke up in a group situation? Stay tuned to learn how we figured out the problem for a woman who shared her feelings in a support group. Hi everybody, I'm Sue Allen Clayton. Welcome to my channel where we're learning how to read tarot one card at a time. In today's reading, we'll be using a 3-card spread to answer the question, what triggered my shame about disclosing too much information to the support group? I will be using the Radiant Rider-Waite Tarot, and there's a link below. I did this reading for a woman in her 40s who I will call Sylvia. She is a single mom who's been in therapy for more than a year to help cope with the mental health issues in her children who are 8 and 11 years old. Although Sylvia has friends and a decent relationship with her family, they don't really understand what she's dealing with. Her ex-husband is no longer in the picture. For the last few months, Sylvia's therapist has been encouraging her to join a support group for parents whose children have similar issues. So far, Sylvia has attended 2 meetings. At the first meeting, when asked to introduce herself, Sylvia was very open about her struggles and felt a lot of support from the group. At the second meeting, Sylvia shared an issue with her son that had not gone well. The group leader criticized her approach as being unkind to her son and evidence that she did not understand his condition. Sylvia was devastated. She immediately chastised herself for oversharing and felt completely ashamed that she'd taken up so much time in the group. She realized that this experience triggered a lot of personal issues. Now she's unsure if she wants to return to the support group. If she does, she feels like she needs to hold back on what she shares. Sylvia's question was, what triggered my shame about disclosing so much information to the support group? I used a 3-card spread to look at the impact of Sylvia's disclosure on the group. Card number 1 looks at what Sylvia hoped to achieve by sharing. Sylvia drew the 7 of Pentacles. Card number 2 looked at how Sylvia's disclosures affected the group. Sylvia drew the Knight of Cups. Card number 3 looked at how, in the future, Sylvia could balance her desire to be open with the need for boundaries. Sylvia drew the 9 of Cups. Let's begin with my first impression. The first thing I want to say is that I can totally relate to Sylvia, so this is a case where I had to be very careful to read the cards and not project my own feelings. I am super sensitive and could see taking the group leader's comments completely personally when they were meant to be helpful, and then shutting down, and, if I continued attending the group, never speaking up again. I think it's interesting that we see 2 Cups cards in this reading, so there's certainly a lot of emotion. We also see someone pausing in the 7 of Pentacles, which shows that Sylvia is stopping to consider whether or not the benefits of the support group are worth it. The final card is the Wish card, so I feel like Sylvia will figure out a way to get what she wants. Let's look at each card individually. Card number 1 looks at what Sylvia hoped to achieve by sharing. Sylvia drew the 7 of Pentacles. The 7 of Pentacles is a card about needing patience and perseverance in order to meet your goals. Additionally, it can mean that you are working alone and that you are exhausted from doing too much. You are taking a break to either rest or to figure out what to do next. Pentacles can represent the practical things in life, including our home, our job, and our families. My first interpretation is that Sylvia is exhausted. She has so many things to take care of, and things end up falling through the cracks, as we can see by the pentacle beneath her feet. In the last year or so, I've gotten into houseplants in a big way. I went from not having a live houseplant for more than 30 years to now having more than 60. Let me tell you, they're a lot of work. Recently, I've had infestations of spider mites and thrips, which I'd never even heard of, and I've had many plants die for unknown reasons. It can be really overwhelming. I think the pentacles on the vine show that Sylvia is overwhelmed. I'm guessing that she's trying to balance the usual parent issues, including grocery shopping, making food, laundry, housework, and homework, with her job and all of the additional appointments necessitated by her kids' mental health issues. She's got too much on her plate and she's exhausted. I believe that Sylvia also feels very alone because we don't see any people or buildings in the background. I think she just wants a break, but is finding that hard because there's so much to be done. So I think that Sylvia's motivation for sharing at the support group was to feel like she was part of a group of people who understood her life and how hard it was. Once she started to talk, she didn't censor herself because she knew that people understood. Another reason for sharing is that Sylvia has been trying to manage alone, and it's no longer working. In addition to wanting emotional support, she wanted strategies to help her learn how to cope without messing up and continuing to have pentacles fall off the vine. In summary, Sylvia shared because she wanted to find emotional support, validation for the challenges in her life, and strategies to enable her to cope more effectively. Card number 2 looks at how Sylvia's disclosures affected the group. Sylvia drew the Knight of Cups. The Knight of Cups represents a person who is warm, sensitive, emotional, and makes decisions based on their heart. I think that there were many people in the group who completely related to Sylvia and her struggles on an emotional level. I think that these people took Sylvia's disclosures as an invitation to share their feelings in a much deeper way. That's how I would respond to her sharing, because I'm one of those emotional, sensitive Cups people. The Knight of Cups is also very idealistic. So I think that Sylvia expected everyone to respond to her sharing with emotional support, especially after it happened the first time. The issue is that not everyone in the world is a Cups person. We also have Wands people who are all about taking swift actions. We have Swords people who focus on thinking in intellectual discussions, and we have Pentacles people who are extremely practical and slower to take action. And Wands, Swords, and Pentacles people don't always appreciate Cups people's emotional view of the world. They can find it boring, frustrating, or overwhelming. I know this from my own life. I'm married to an engineer who is not a Cups person. If I'm sharing an emotional experience, which is how I interpret almost anything, I don't usually get the acknowledgement that I want. He'll give advice or suggest a solution, and it can be annoying and hurt my feelings. So I think that's what's happening here. The group leader is not a Cups person. When she criticized Sylvia's approach as being unkind to her son and evidence that she did not understand his condition, she was responding as a Swords person, just as my husband would. Sylvia took their analytical answer to mean that they didn't want to hear what she had to say, and her feelings got hurt. In summary, Sylvia's sharing had a mixed impact on the group. The Cups people loved it. Others in the group didn't respond to her emotions and were more focused on providing an intellectual analysis or practical strategies she could use to improve. You've made it this far in the video, and I wanted to stop and ask for a favor if you're not already a subscriber, and that is to please hit the subscribe button. It's free for you, and it will also help me to grow this channel. Plus, it means that you won't miss anything. Thanks so much, and if you're already a subscriber, I truly appreciate your ongoing support. Now let's get back to the video. Card number 3 looked at how, in the future, Sylvia could balance her desire to be open with the need for boundaries. Sylvia drew the Nine of Cups. The Nine of Cups is known as the wish card. When it appears in a reading, it means that you have achieved success, your wishes will come true, and your wishes will be fulfilled. The bad times are over and the good times have arrived. This tells me that Sylvia will need to figure out a way to get her needs met in the support group, and that her life will improve considerably. We can see 9 cups on a tall table. I think this symbolizes that Sylvia needs to figure out how to keep her emotions under control. That means knowing that her emotions are there and being able to choose when to take them off the shelf and access them. She needs to get to a place where her emotions are no longer running her life. She needs to create boundaries in the group and only share what she knows will be received in a way that doesn't upset her. I believe that she has the skills to create boundaries. First of all, we saw her in the Seven of Pentacles as a very practical person. She's not the fool. She's mature and hardworking. So I think she can figure out how to get her needs met in the group. This card tells us about the skills that Sylvia will need to develop to create boundaries. We see her represented by the plump man sitting on a wood bench. The wooden bench, along with her brown shoes, tells us that Sylvia will need to be very grounded. Becoming grounded is about being connected to your body and the world around you in the here and now. This is a skill that Sylvia can learn that will keep her emotions from running her life. Some ways to become more grounded are to spend time in nature, to focus on your breathing, or to focus on what you can see, hear, touch, or taste in the present moment. I'll just add that, as a cups person, I've had to learn to do this. One thing I do every morning during my short period of meditation is to picture roots growing from the base of my spine and extending down into the earth. It makes me feel strong and grounded. Then I feel myself drawing the energy up through my body, chakra by chakra, until it reaches the top of my head and connects with spirit. And then I picture bright light all around my body. This has helped me immensely because it keeps me in the present. If Sylvia were to do this, it would take her focus off ruminating about whether she overshared at the support group and help her feel strong in the present moment. This card also tells us that Sylvia will need to learn how to balance her desire to share with an ability to sit still and listen. The red hat shows that her thoughts are very active, but she doesn't need to say everything that she's thinking. She can pick up nuggets of wisdom from the group without having to share every detail of her life. According to Pam Richards, in her book Understanding Tarot, the robe is the traditional clothing of a merchant. This clothing shows that the merchant has a strong sense of self-worth and is someone who is pleased with what he's gained. I think this indicates that Sylvia needs to develop a strong sense of self-worth and have faith that things will get better. She needs to figure out a way to improve her self-confidence, to relax, and to take a break from her struggles. In summary, this reading answered Sylvia's question about what triggered her shame about disclosing too much information to the support group. Card number 1, the Seven of Pentacles, looked at what Sylvia hoped to achieve by sharing. Sylvia was completely overwhelmed. She shared because she wanted to find emotional support, validation for the challenges in her life, and strategies to enable her to cope more effectively. Card number 2, the Knight of Cups, looked at how Sylvia's disclosures affected the group. We determined that the impact depended on the individuals in the group. This was the trigger for her shame. While the Cups people loved what she had to say and it motivated them to share deeply, others in the group didn't appreciate her emotions. They focused on an intellectual analysis about what she could do to improve, which was not the emotional support Sylvia had in mind. This hurt her feelings and made her feel that she had done something wrong. Card number 3, the Nine of Cups, looked at how, in the future, Sylvia could balance her desire to be open with the need for boundaries. Sylvia needs to figure out a way to improve her self-confidence and to be okay with listening and not sharing everything that pops into her very active brain. She needs to learn some new skills so that she doesn't always lead with her emotions and instead can pick and choose what she wants to share. As I said at the start of this video, I can certainly relate to Sylvia and being ultra-sensitive to how people respond to what I have to say. I got a lot out of this reading and realizing that the world is not just made up of Cups people. Like Sylvia, I need to recognize that there's nothing wrong with whatever my version of oversharing is. It's just that it doesn't resonate with the Wands, Swords, or Pentacles people. I think that we can all learn from this. Earlier, I mentioned that my husband is not an emotional person and gets frustrated with me. I also get frustrated with him. He works on a small engineering team, and occasionally he'll mention something that happened to a coworker, such as an accident or an illness or a death in the family. When I ask how they're doing, he never knows. He doesn't ask because it's not important, in his mind, unless it impacts their work. He always says, if they want me to know, they'll tell me. And I usually comment back, maybe they'd like to know that you're interested and care about them. We're all different, and sometimes our feelings of being hurt stem from a mismatch of personalities, not from us doing anything wrong. So I hope this reading gave you some food for thought, and I hope it will help you with your future tarot readings. Please leave a comment if you'd like to share what you've learned. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.